Who will verify? Who will ratify? Who will endorse the above proposed changes? What would be the syllabus or course content, and what are the various sources that are going to be utilized in order to impart in the teaching of the above subjects? Where will these subjects be taught? What is the physical place of teaching? How long will it take to prepare a syllabus? Who will prepare the syllabus? Once the syllabus have been prepared, can they be taught in the existing college? How can the present CME program, that is competency-based medical education, how can this be integrated into how can this be blended into the so-called proposed preclinical program, preclinical curriculum of 11th and 12th standard that has been proposed by MERC? Who are the teachers who would be teaching lakhs of students across the nation? Considering that change would be introduced, a considerable amount of source material for teaching purposes in the form of textbook laboratories would be needed. Naturally, the entire nation cannot at one go introduce these courses. So there will be a disparity and disequilibrium. How does MERC propose to address this particular question? So, this being the question, let us go at it in serial order. Point number 1, as I have already said, medical education restructuring curriculum is a proposal. It's a theoretical proposal by a particular individual. Obviously, the people who have to verify, accept and ratify this and endorse this, I wish to divide them into 3 levels. The government of India. As I said, the powers that rule the nation are the powers that will ultimately take the decision. It is the Ministry of Health, Education, etc., etc. They are the ones who have to endorse. The second group of people who will endorse are the vast number of academicians, the medical teachers of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and community medicine, the medical professionals in general, all across the nation. They are the people who have to give a go ahead for this. They have to first accept it. 3, last but not the least, the students who will prepare the syllabus and how long does it take to prepare syllabus. Preparation of syllabus, I do not think as a doctor, I don't think it is very difficult. It will perhaps take 2 or 3 months. And when we look at the syllabus, I mean, as anybody, there are hundreds and hundreds of great teachers of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and community medicine all over our nation. And I am no one to sort of, what I mean to say, propose or anything, but a good standard would be 2 textbooks of by Indian authors and 2 textbooks by foreign authors. Apart from atlases, models, etc., laboratories, these. Once the syllabus is prepared, where would be the physical place of teaching? This is the most important question. Needless to say, the most suitable place for teaching these subjects are the existing medical colleges themselves. Why? For the simple reason that already the existing medical colleges have a successful anatomy, physiology, biochemistry undergraduate program in process. So all that would be needed is just the creation of a mirror image of the existing anatomy, physiology, biochemistry and community medicine departments into what perhaps I feel would be aptly known as a preclinical science block. Next question, who will be the teachers? Now, before we go to this question, apart from the existing medical colleges, if the present 11th and 12th standard colleges, if they wish to start any college with a good facility, they can obviously start an anatomy, physiology, biochemistry and community medicine department. There is nothing impossible about it, or there is nothing difficult about it. Having said that, we now come to the teachers. Who are the teachers? Professors of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry and community medicine, additional professors, associate professors, assistant professors and lecturers / tutors. These would be the set of teachers. Their qualifications, I need not say this, I'm not going into details, but we have the MSc, BSc, MSc, PhD group of teachers, and we have the MBBS, MD, MS group of teachers. Namely, for anatomy, we have MD, MS, or they can be BSc, MSc and PhD anatomy. So, having said that, up till an assistant professor level, it is alright. But then, The most important question that would be asked by viewers is, there are 24 lakh students across the nation. If a single college admits 100 students maximum, how many teachers would be needed? Where can we generate these teachers? Who would be in other words, who would be the frontline teaching force? The frontline teaching force will be the MBBS graduate. The other vast, untapped, rich source of teachers are the BSc and MSc group of teachers or graduates who have completed BSc/MSc in APBC group of subjects. These are the people who should be harvested, who should be harnessed to create a massive teaching force.
However, there is a problem here, and that is, despite the fact that medical education restructuring curriculum would like to stay away from any kind of controversial issues, or this is not the platform or the podium for discussing any problematic issues. Unfortunately, however, without discussing this particular segment, continuing forward is not possible. Therefore, there are two groups of teachers having different sets of qualifications. One are the MBBS students who have finished MBBS, and they opt for MS Anatomy, MD Physiology, MD Biochemistry, similarly MD Pathology, MD Pharmacology, and MD Microbiology, MD Forensic Medicine and Toxicology, and they become lecturers, assistant professors, associate professors, and professors. This being the case, there is another stream of professionals, students. They are the BSc Medical Anatomy, Medical Physiology, Medical Biochemistry, same thing, Medical Pathology, Medical Microbiology, and Pharmacology. They do BSc. They continue MSc, 2 years, 3 years BSc, 2 years MSc. And then for 3 or 4 years, they complete, they do their PhD. And they come out as teachers of these subjects, pre and paraclinical sciences. Things seems to be fine, but as of today, unfortunately, there is a confrontation, there is a tussle, there is a friction, there is a war between these two groups of teachers. I repeat, MERC is not here to take sides or discuss any thorny issues. I'm just putting it forward. We're just putting it forward because it is relevant to us. The MDMS group of teachers, the faculty, they are not exactly happy with the ingress of the BSc, MSc, PhD group of teachers into the teaching faculty line. Their stand is that they might not be up to the mark as far as teaching is concerned because of the lack of clinical exposure. The BSc, MSc, PhD group of teachers, they don't have clinical exposure. They go directly BSc single subject, any of the pre and paraclinical sciences. Because of that, they cannot be equated or they cannot be on par with the MD-MS group of teachers. So the lack of clinical exposure is one point that they have raised. The point that is of concern when they teach, their lack of clinical exposure might be a deficiency. One. The second objection, this is not my objection, these can be found in the internet. The standard of teaching might be affected. These are their complaints. Last but not the least, let me also say that some of the internet blogs, whatever you may call them, they have said that as it is, we have enough of competition. Amongst the MDMS people itself, there is so much of competition. With the ingress of MSc PhD group of teachers, the competition is going to get heated up even more. Everybody wants to safeguard their positions. Right, we'll leave that aside. The Supreme Court has given a decision very recently that BSc, MSc, PhD group of teachers can be appointed as faculty, full-time permanent faculty. There is no question about it. There is no argument about it. This they have very clearly said. Naturally, not to be outdone, not to be bogged down, the MDMS group of the faculty, they have once again approached saying that they cannot be given as full-time only when there is a deficiency, only when MDMS group of teachers are not available, when there is a vacancy, only then can they be, the PhD, BSc, MSc, PhD group of teachers can be appointed. And if a suitable candidate, MDMS candidate comes, they have to vacate the position or whatever it is. So these are the various things that are going on. What does MERC feel about it? MERC would like to look at it from a very practical, pragmatic point of view. This is a nation where we have a slight deficiency of doctors. We need doctors. In order to create doctors, we need teachers. Teachers need to have ability to teach. If there are lacunae, we need to plug those lacunae. If a particular stream of teachers who are coming from a particular educational background or an academic background, if it is felt that there are certain deficiencies in their abilities, it is not the case that we throw them out in entirety. It is not the case that we block them. It is not the case that we say no completely. If there are deficiencies, we need to address the deficiencies, plug those deficiencies and iron out those wrinkles and configure their degrees to suit the requirements of the nation. Our Air Force has a lack of fighter squadrons. The jets that are there, the fighter jets, they are of 4 or 4.5 generation. We need 5th generation. Have they sold all these jets? Have they scrapped these jets and sold them in the Gujri market? Have they thrown them? No. They are upgrading these jets. MER's Medical Education Restructuring Curriculum has only one thing to say, and that is, if there are deficiencies, plug them, raise their standards, configure and shape it to tailor your requirement. It is not the time to discard people or block talent. Human resources. Sorry, that was the word I was searching for. Human resources. This being the case, this is not an era of confrontation. This is an era of dialogue. This is not an era of acrimony. This is an era of coordination. This is an era of synergy. This is not an era of elimination. This is an era of inclusion. This is not an era of exclusion.
Having thus outlined the composition of the frontline teaching force for preclinical and subsequently paraclinical sciences, namely the post-MBBS graduates and the BSc and MSc preclinical and paraclinical science graduates, a question of paramount importance will be propped up especially by the teaching community, by the faculty, senior faculty. The MBBS graduates are qualified to teach. So also the BSc and MSc preclinical and paraclinical science degree holders, BSc anatomy, MSc anatomy, BSc physiology. But having said that, when we look at it in a ground reality point of view, they are qualified to teach, but what about their capability to teach? MBBS graduate cannot be expected to teach at that requisite standard which is required to be shown. So the question will be, how will medical education restructuring curriculum propose to maintain, sustain the standard of teaching or quality of teaching to the proposed preclinical science and paraclinical science curriculum? I repeat, this is only a proposal, again and again, often repeated. This has to be approved by the medical society, educational society, the government, the ministry. If implemented, if proposed, if implemented, if accepted, how do you plan to ensure a grip on the quality of teaching and standard of teaching? 3 points. There are many academicians, strategists, they know better than me. As far as my humble viewpoint is, 3 strategies. 1, a rigid process of selection, meaning not that the applicants have to write an entrance examination. No, we are not interested in their content of knowledge. We are interested in how they are going to put across the knowledge that they have. It is about teaching. It is not about what they know. They have to put it across to the student community. So, considering that if implemented again and again, if implemented and if accepted, a huge number, thousands and thousands of these post-MBBS job vacancy, it will open the floodgates of employment. So it cannot be the case that it will be a walk-in interview. Walk-in, selected as tutor or lecturer, junior teacher, chalo join. Do what you want. No, it cannot be like that. The process of selection must be upon the ability to prepare a given topic, a given teaching module in an absolutely palatable, excellent manner. Example, let us take lung physiology or physiology of breathing. Give the topic to a candidate. Give 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. Time is not a constraint. All the textbooks in the library, disposal. That is also not. It is not that from memory that person has. Any and everything, resources, education resources will be given. At the end of it, the particular, the aspirant who wants to join this teaching, this thing, he or she has to be able to prepare a segment, a teaching capsule on physiology of lung or respiration. And he or she has to demonstrate his or her ability to put it across in a beautifully structured, well-configured manner so that the 11th and 12th standard students, the preclinical science, and of course subsequently we'll come to paraclinical science, they would be able to understand. So this is point number 1. Point number 2, post-selection. It cannot be the case that they slip into a comfort zone. 9 to 5 job, teach something, go home, relax, prepare for entrance examination. When you get it, ditch this job, dump the job and join. No, that cannot be the attitude. 1 day or 1 year, whatever it may be, there has to be a commitment. So, how does MERC propose to sustain the standard of teaching? Tomorrow there is a lesson, or day after, whatever it may be. 1 day or 2 days or 3 days in advance, the junior teacher, lecturer, tutor, whatever it may be, whoever it may be, he or she has to prepare well in advance that particular teaching schedule, segment. And he or she has to submit it to the senior faculty, assistant professor, associate professor, professor, so on and so forth. They will scrutiny, ratify, endorse, correct if necessary, modify if necessary, rediscuss it with the junior faculty, and finally there will be a creation of a super perfect teaching module. So every day throughout the year, 365 days, discounting the holidays, of course, this drill, this unrelenting drill, iron grip, when it is maintained, prepare, submit, scrutiny, endorse, ratify, modify as necessary, and it goes to the students. This will ensure watertight, foolproof methodology of maintaining the standard of teaching. As is obvious, just as a last statement, the junior cadre cannot be expected to know the entire subject. It is obvious. They will make their sincere efforts to prepare, and the polishing of the corners, addition, addendums will be taken care by the senior faculty. So both of them in tandem together, there will be a creation of a perfect teaching module. Question number 3. How will the authorities, meaning the regional or local University of Health Sciences or University of Medical Sciences, be it the state, be it the center, whoever it may be, anywhere from India, they may want to know whether it is planned or not planned, doesn't matter. They want to know what is the standard of teaching. I mean, it cannot be a closed affair. It cannot be just behind closed doors. So, example, the University of Health Sciences, the local regional University of Health Sciences. How will they evaluate? How will they know that the teaching is going on up to the mark? 6 monthly, 3 monthly, 6 monthly, quarterly, annually, as may be deemed fit. Virtual conferencing, virtual viewing. It is not the case that, considering that there will be, hopefully, God willing, there will be hundreds and hundreds of colleges, and there will be obviously thousands of teachers for each discipline and each subject. It cannot be the case that all of them, it is physically impossible to monitor everybody at random, as and when convenient. All that is needed is to live stream the lecture. Sitting in the University of Health Sciences, every day, one college, one discipline, one faculty, one lecturer can be easily monitored. You need not sit nobody needs to sit and listen to the, 1 hour or 2 hours. All you need to just is to visit for 10 or 15 minutes live, virtually. You will know what the performance is. That's it. So, a 3-pronged strategy of rigid process of selection, continued monitoring of preparation of teaching capsules by the senior faculty with suitable modifications and suggestions throughout the year, and lastly, periodic virtual conferencing, live visiting of the lecture process by the local, regional, central, state, universities, whoever it may be, the inspectory bodies, as we can generally call them, periodic inspection. These 3-pronged strategy will ensure that 100% the quality will be maintained.
A special mention about anatomy deserves to be made here, because that is the question that I'm sure many of the viewers will be waiting to ask. In all medical colleges, in every medical colleges, this study is done by dissecting cadavers. Cadavers means those humans who are deceased, who have DECASED, those who have lost their lives, and those who have been grateful enough, their relatives who have donated their bodies for use by the students to study anatomy. It is these bodies that are used by the students to dissect and to learn human anatomy. In preclinical sciences, in College of Preclinical Sciences, to procure these cadavers, as we call them, that is, the lifeless human body, for educational purposes, will it not raise legal problems? will it not raise certain questions? At this stage, what MERC would like to say is the study of anatomy, or for this matter, APBC subjects in 11th and 12th, the aim of study is not to make them professors of anatomy or professors of physiology. No. 11th and 12th standard students will be taught or are going to be taught these subjects in order to lay a thorough, strong, super strong foundation. It is to teach them the theoretical aspects completely to the brim. Not that we are going to compromise on practicals. As regards to the specimens, human anatomy need not necessarily every college, even today, many colleges where cadavers are not available freely. In such places, pre-dissected, formalin preserved, glass encased specimens of human parts are displayed to the students, and they are taught thoroughly these subjects with the use of these specimens. We come to the course curriculum. How does MERC, what is the proposal of MERC as regards to the 24 months of this subject teaching if it is accepted and implemented? Every subject, system based teaching of medical subjects. Heart anatomy is being taught today in the morning session. In the afternoon, kidney physiology is being taught. Tomorrow, brain physiology is being taught. Kidney anatomy is being taught. And when kidney anatomy and lung physiology is being taught, liver biochemistry is being taught in the afternoon. In other words, there is no sequential teaching of the three subjects, namely anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. I mean to say that it would be prudent. In the morning session, there is heart anatomy, and then there is heart physiology, and then there is heart biochemistry. So that there is a continuity, there is a sequence at a stretch without interruption. The student will be able to relate to one another very easily without interruption. And at the end of, let us say, 1 week or 10 days or 15 days or 21 days or whatever the time frame is allocated to a particular system, namely cardiac system, at the end of 3 weeks, the student would be absolutely clear about all the three components, if not four, that is cardiac anatomy, cardiac physiology, cardiac biochemistry, and cardiac related diseases in the community, which is a part of community medicine or preventive and social medicine. So, at the end of 3 weeks, in one capsule, the student will have an uninterrupted teaching and an uninterrupted absorption and an uninterrupted knowledge inflow of a particular system. So, this MERC would like to encourage this. I propose this very earnestly, which would be known as synchronous teaching of medical subjects, also known as STMS. Every week, MERC proposes or feels that every week there should be a weekly test. Every month there should be a monthly test. Every quarterly there should be a semi-major test, and every one of these tests should be extremely diligently prepared, wherein long theory questions, mainly theory questions which test the metal, METTLE, with regards to the bulk of knowledge, these must be asked. Multiple choice questions, they are a part and parcel of our examination system. We shall come to that later. They do occupy a smaller place of importance in the curriculum. But having said this, MERC strongly feels that a massive theory foundation is necessary, and the examinations, as just now we have proposed, weekly, monthly, unit, quarterly, etc. They have to be very thoroughly theory-based examinations. And at the end of 1 year, naturally, there will be a university conducted, the University of Medical Sciences, whatever it is, the University of Health Sciences, whatever we call them, they would be conducting a full-fledged university examination with theory, practical, viva, models, specimens, etc., etc. So, at the end of 2 years of rigorous, diligent, detailed, unhurried teaching, medical education restructuring curriculum feels, or rather, I must say, has no doubt that the product, the students who are going to come out after 2 or 2.25 years, they would be absolutely prepared to enter MBBS, having acquired a massive foundation in these 4 preclinical subjects.